This happened to a family friend of ours named Annika, and to this day, no one talks about it openly. They say speaking about it invites the darkness back. But I'm telling you now, because people deserve to know what's out there. Annika was always the quiet one, sweet, soft-spoken, always keeping to herself. She lived in her parents' house, an old colonial home on the outskirts of town, surrounded by thick forests and fields of tall grass. But the strangest thing about that property was the well, a deep stone well hidden behind the house, covered with a rusty iron lid. Everyone in the family avoided it. Local kids whispered that the well was cursed, that no animals would go near it. But one summer evening, Annika did something no one expected. She heard a faint voice calling her name. At first, she thought it was her imagination. But it happened again the next night, and again the next, always at the same time, right as the sun dipped below the trees. Curiosity got the better of her. She followed the voice. The well stood there, old and forgotten, the iron lid slightly ajar. The voice whispered, "Please, help me." Annika reached inside. What happened next changed her forever. Against her better judgment, that night, she fell violently ill. Her skin burned with fever, her eyes glassed over, and she refused to eat. Days turned into weeks, and her condition only worsened. Doctors were baffled. Medicine didn't work. Then the sleepwalking began. Her parents would wake to the sound of footsteps, creaking floorboards, doors opening, the refrigerator empty in the morning. But the worst part? They'd find muddy footprints trailing through the house, the same red-brown mud that surrounded the old well. One night, Annika's father followed her. He found her outside, standing barefoot by the well, speaking to it. Her eyes were wide, her lips moving, but the voice that came out wasn't hers. It was deeper, colder, inhuman. Terrified, they brought her to a priest. As soon as the prayers began, Annika collapsed, convulsing on the floor. The entity inside her spoke. "She set me free. I live through her now. I will never leave." The priest demanded to know its name, but it only laughed, a hollow, empty sound that made the walls shake. After hours of relentless prayer, the spirit finally loosened its grip, but before leaving, it whispered a final warning. "She belongs to me, always." Annika never fully recovered. To this day, she avoids mirrors, refuses to go near the well, and sometimes at night, her family still hears her speaking in that same cold, unfamiliar voice.
This might not be the scariest story you've ever heard, but even now, it still gives me chills when I think about it. It happened when I was in kindergarten. My school was an old 2-story building, one of those places that always felt a little strange. The hallways echoed, the windows creaked, and some parts of the building, well, they just gave off a weird feeling. It happened during recess. My friends and I had just finished eating snacks from the canteen and went outside to play. We started with tag, then switched to hide and seek. It was the last round of the game, and one of my friends dared us to hide upstairs, on the left side of the building. The moment we got near those stairs, everyone stopped. They said the upper floor on that side was creepy, that no one ever went up there. But I wasn't scared. I wanted to win the game, so I went up alone. The staircase creaked with every step, and the hallway at the top was dark and dusty. There was only one door. It looked old, with peeling paint and a broken sign hanging above it. As the seeker started counting, 10, 9, 8, I reached for the door. The strange thing is, it opened easily. The room was abandoned. Dust covered everything. Chairs were flipped over. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling. And the smell, it was terrible. It smelled like something old, forgotten, maybe even dead. I crouched near the door, trying to stay hidden. That's when I noticed the walls. There were stains on them, dark stains that trailed down like they'd been there for years. The blackboard at the front of the room was covered in faded handprints, smeared and distorted, as if someone had tried to claw their way out. I told myself it was old paint, maybe a prank from older students. I stayed quiet, holding my breath, but then I heard it. A faint sound from the closet. A soft thump. Then, the sound of something shifting inside. I froze. Something or someone was in that room with me. I didn't want to find out. I jumped up and ran. Down the stairs, back to my friends. When recess ended, one of my friends asked where I'd been hiding. I told them, upstairs, in the room on the left. Her face changed completely. She looked shocked. She told me that room had been locked for years. Apparently, the school lost the key a long time ago, and nobody ever went inside. But I did. The door opened for me, and those stains on the walls, looking back now, I'm not so sure they were paint. And the noises in the closet, I still wonder, what was in there with me?
Hi, I'm Nina. I'm 18 now, but this happened when I was 16, just after we moved to my grandfather's house in a small village on a remote island in the Philippines. It was supposed to be a fresh start, quiet, peaceful, surrounded by nature. The house sat near the edge of the forest. There weren't many neighbors, just a few houses scattered here and there, and directly across from our front window was a huge, old mango tree. My grandpa always said to respect it, never look at it too long after dark, and never say anything bad about it. I didn't understand why until the third night. That evening, my parents had gone to visit relatives. I stayed home alone, scrolling through my phone while the generator hummed outside. Around midnight, the power suddenly cut. No lights, no signal, just silence. I lit a candle and sat on the couch, waiting. That's when I heard it, a soft humming. It was coming from outside, slow and eerie, like a lullaby. I peeked through the window. There was a woman in the mango tree. She wasn't climbing it. She was inside it, nestled among the branches like a shadow, her long black hair hanging down, swaying in the windless night. Her face was pale, unmoving, and her eyes were wide open, staring directly at me. I blinked. She was still there. I shut the curtain and backed away, heart pounding. I wanted to believe it was just my mind playing tricks on me. But then came the knock. 3 soft taps at the front door. I stood frozen, candle in hand. Another knock. I crept closer, barely breathing, and looked through the peephole. There was no one there, just darkness and the mango tree. I locked every door, every window, and hid under my blanket in the living room, gripping my rosary. I must have drifted off at some point, because I woke up to birds chirping and sunlight pouring through the curtains. I told my grandfather what I saw. He went silent for a long time. Then he said, "She's called the Bante, a spirit who guards that tree. You're lucky you only saw her. She only shows herself to people close to death or those she wants to warn." Later that day, we got a call from the city. One of my cousins had passed away during the night. Same time I saw her. Same time I heard the knock. I haven't seen the woman again, but I still live here. And every night before I sleep, I make sure the curtain stays closed. Because if I see her again, I'm afraid the next knock might be for me.